I'm Melissa Chartrand. I'm over at Geyer Barn with artist Marie Rizzo. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So I'm so pleased to chat with you. You are living in Barnstable Village,
Yes.
local artist. We love having time to talk and display works over here at the barn. There's an exhibit coming up in December of your works. But I want to talk a little bit, before we talk about this very moving exhibit, I should say, I'd like to talk to a little bit about you and your background.
Well, I didn't start out in art, although I've always been someone who would draw and paint. I mean, to me, great vacation would be, we'd be up with my grandparents and we'd go to the local craft store and I'd get something and I'd have something to play with, whether it was paper and pencils or knitting needles or whatever. So I've always had that background.
Always enjoy doing that, but
Yeah.
you really have more of a science background.
I do. Math and science, and I went to school, BU, and majored in chemistry. And then a couple of years later, I went back to graduate school and majored in exercise physiology. And that has really come in handy as far as the anatomy and drawing people. In fact, I've been teaching an anatomy for artists class over at the Art Association recently.
Isn't that amazing how those worlds and those skills overlap?
They do, they do. You know, people think that things are compartmentalized, and they're really not. Everything is related.
And let's talk a little bit, so you work, and that's what you're doing now, but you also didn't start the artistic, you started more so with quilting, those knitting needles that you refer to,
Yes.
quitting and sailors' valentines, and that, not quitting, quilting and knitting.
I did, but I always had paper and pencil somewhere. You know, I'd always, draw either from what I would see around me or magazines or whatever.
So always a more realistic view.
Yes, yes. I appreciate all kinds of art, but I would say that my love is the realism.
And now you are award-winning.
Yes, I've won a few awards in exhibits that I've been in, and that's been very exciting.
That's very exciting and the ultimate compliment, I imagine.
It is.
So some of your work, let's talk specifically about some of your works here. We mentioned you did a tribute to Sargent's watercolors.
Actually, to one of his oils, his most famous probably at the MFA in Boston, and The Daughters of Dr. Boyd. And it's been one of my favorites since I was little. And I love.
Why is that? Why
I couldn't say. I mean, since I was about 8 or 9, it always captivated me, along with a few other paintings. But that one, Julia Boyd, who was in the forefront, and I finally decided I would try to do my own version, and I'm pretty happy with it. It hangs in my dining room, and I look at it when we have dinner, and it's kind of fun.
It is. Now, so your background again is science and math. So have you taken classes? I know that you yourself teach classes. Have you taken classes, or you've just dabbled in the different mediums?
I've taken classes. I started years ago. When I first started, I used to index books. I worked for publishers, and that tied in with my science background. And while I was doing that, it was hard to do other things. But I did take some classes, and then more recently, both in watercolor and drawing and oil painting.
And before that, tell me a little bit about the sailor valentines.
Well, it's funny. My sister wanted to do them, and she couldn't sign up for a class, and she took a different class. And I felt bad because I said, oh, I think I could do it. She couldn't get the time off work. It was here, and she's not from the Cape. And so I said, oh, I'll never get in, but I'll call. And they said, which session would you like? And I said, oh, gosh, now I've done it. And so I took that class, and then later she and I took several classes together. And frankly, she's much better at it than I am, but it is fun to do.
It is. Do you take some of that or incorporate that type of work into your paintings?
Everything you do in art is design, and so everything you do just plays a part in your latest work, I think.
Okay. And how about one of the other paintings that we have here, the young woman, it looks like she's standing at a fence.
She is. That was from a photo I took at Taylor Bray Farm, and I love getting candid photos and working from them. I like working from life, and both, I think, are important, because if you only work from life, you don't get enough practice in. So you do have to work from something, photos, your own sketches, something else. But I do like working from life as well.
Do you have a preference in medium? As you say, whether it's drawing or the oils?
I think still it's drawing, whether it's pencil or charcoal. That's still my first love.
And why is that?
I think the simplicity. And you pare things down to just value. And yet at the same time, there's the challenge, especially when you're doing portraits, of capturing someone's not only likeness, but their spirit, and trying to do that with something as simple as pencil and paper.
It's pretty remarkable. And also pretty remarkable, let's talk about these portraits, this exhibit that is here at the barn December 1st through the 15th. Very powerful, very emotional, in response to the tragedy in Newtown, Connecticut last year. Let's talk about these portraits.
Well, I started them just a few days after the tragedy. And I started just doing one from a photo, and then I would see another photo. They came out not all at the same time, and I love to draw children, so I did that in response to just the emotion of seeing all this awful, what happened occur. And I did more and more with no intent other than to keeping them for myself. But friends of mine who are artists said, you know, you really shouldn't just put them in a portfolio. And so now here we are, I'm going to share them with people.
And I think, as you say, in light of the tragedy, these portraits are just absolutely beautiful and capturing the innocence of their lives. And really it's meant certainly as a reflection, but as a celebration.
Exactly. I found that ultimately what happened to me in doing the work was that now when you say Newtown to me, I think of the smiling faces that I've been working on for the past year.
Right. And
so I hope that other people will see that and think of their lives and their smiles as well as what happened to them. It's just as important.
It is. It absolutely is. So I hope that our viewers will come and take a look at the beautiful exhibits, the beautiful portraits. And Marie, for anyone interested in meeting you and learning more about you or being able to take the classes, how can they contact you?
I do have email. I've got to set up a web page still, but my email is marie_rizzo@comcast.net.
And you also have many classes lined up for the winter and spring, and on it, certainly your works are displayed at the Cape Cod Art Association right on Route 6A in Barnstable Village, so that they can get information on you there as well as through the High Arts District. They can contact me as well. Well, I thank you so much for your time and for sharing a little bit about you and your work.
Well, thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Thanks, Marie. For Marie Rizzo, I'm Melissa Chartrand, wishing you an artful day.